What did you do at uni?
So I was studying Bachelor of Arts and Economics. Disliked the whole process of university. I was basically bumming around, so I wasn't serious about it. Thankfully, I woke up to myself and got out of there as quick as I could. And I got into the finals.
You mean before they kicked you out?
No, I didn't get kicked out, but it's just, it was really much. I mean, I went to La Trobe University and probably wasn't around with the most studious people, but it was, I had a great time, wonderful time at university. But I was smart enough to sort of like say to myself, you know what, I need to get out of this environment. I've always worked as a youngster, so I always loved the chance of earning money, and I was just a money hungry kid.
Yeah.
I mean, like young adults, you've earned $10, you spend 15, then you earn 20, and you spend 30. I mean, that whole rigmarole. But I got into the financial services sector as a 21-year-old actually, because I loved money.
And did you start as a lifey, like selling life insurance?
Yeah,
or did you start with financial planning?
No, I can't say financial planning wasn't relevant then. I really hated the life insurance. I was big into the old investment bonds. What were they known then as insurance bonds?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you remember that 10-year rule? That as long as you kept the bond for 10 years and you wouldn't increase every year more than 125% after 10 years, it was tax-free. So I was big into those. And did really well for myself, and gradually, as things changed with the financial service industry, you had to be licensed. So I had to go get my proper accreditation and do all that sort of stuff. Funny story about that, because many years ago you had to obviously pass exams, and I obviously did the right thing, and I approached my lecturer. Well, how do I cheat? So I didn't want to study. And it was a pretty funny look that came back to me. But got through that. And in fact, I think I failed.
Did you pay for his insurance bonds? Or?
Oh, no, I didn't pay for his insurance bonds. But no one wants to cheat anymore. It was so good. But yeah, I've basically been in the financial services industry all my life. However, whilst doing that in parallel, I had a fair few businesses as well.
Okay.
So I guess
in the sector or outside the sector?
No, outside the sector. I had a mate of mine where our kids used to go to the same school, and he was basically managing cosmetic - plastic surgery business, which I knew nothing of.
So we're talking about fake boobs here?
Oh, fake boobs and the whole rigmarole. I mean, the ignorance was my greatest strength.
Straighten your nose?
Yeah, straighten nose and all that nip and tucks, all that sort of stuff. Botox. In fact, I got into that industry when in 2004, if my memory serves me right. Somehow he convinced me to.
So were you like the field commander or something?
Man, I was just like a little puppet, just trying to find out how the whole industry works. And what made it even more stranger, you couldn't do it in Melbourne or Sydney or any other state but Queensland, because you didn't need to be a doctor to have a practice. So effectively, we had the biggest cosmetics - plastic surgery business in the country.
Wow.
And if my memory serves me right, back in 2004, I think we were doing about $30,000 or $40,000 worth of Botox a week.
Jesus.
Which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
high margin, I assume.
Massive margins. And I'll quickly tell you how that business went. But what shocked me about, and I knew nothing about that business whatsoever. I just sort of like learnt it, and got to meet all the plastic surgeons and all the cosmetic surgeons. And what I found, I was distraught actually, because whilst being in the practice, we actually had an experienced practice manager. I would see all these young girls coming to the practice, 22, 24, 25. And I'm thinking, but so you're so young, why do you need to do this stuff? And I used to hassle my practice manager, can you give me an idea why so many young and nice looking girls too coming to do, surgery? Because we actually had a theatre in our practice, which was very hard to get. So that went chugging along for a period of time. But the doctors, what I didn't figure out is that the plastic surgeons that performed all these surgeries, they didn't like the idea of a financial planner in Melbourne running the business.
Right.
So they decided to put a gun to my head.
So they amputated you?
A bit more than that. And soon I found out that they weren't prepared to come to my practice. And even if they were, they changed the terms and conditions. For example, if it was a boob job, call it $8,000. The doctor may get 6, the practice may get 2. Doctor may turn around and say, no, I want $10,000 now. And the patient's sitting inside, ready for surgery.
Oh, sabotage.
So it was a big sabotage, and I quickly learned, you know what, this is just not my thing. Lost a whole heap of money doing that, but I learned a lot. And what I learned was that if you want to get involved in the business, it doesn't scare me that if you don't know too much about it, you can learn those things. But when it's completely out of your control and you're dependent on someone else to make that business survive or go well, you're not going to have much of a chance. So bad experience, lost a lot of money. Not too long after that.
Yeah, but you opted out of uni, right?
Yeah.
So you have to pay for your education in one way. Right?
We didn't have HEX then, mate. We didn't
so
have
this
HEX.
is your HEX. This is
Contribution,
your, you know,
yeah.
It's hard to succeed if you've never failed.
Yes.
I'm a big believer in that. Now,
Yes.
some people get lucky, and I get that. But
Yes.
most people, it's through failures that you learn a lot.
Yes.
And then when you succeed, you nail it.
You do, but you have to have a go.
Oh, yeah, you can't let the failures make you jaded about things.
No.
They're just little setbacks.
Because
and
not
away you go.
not too far after that failure, in my mind, I had to get the money back quick because it was just a lot of money at that stage. So we had some friends that, again, from the same school, and they were involved many years ago in the childcare industry.
Uh-huh.
And somehow we spoke and things just happened. I'm a bit of a bulldog when it comes to these things. I just went and found one. And soon we were operating one childcare centre, and we just rode the wave because at that time, do you remember ABC Childcare?
Yeah, the thematic was strong.
Yeah, very, very, very strong. So they were buying the whole of Australia. So as we were operating, they made an offer that we couldn't just refuse. So, we sold out. And not too
And you
long.
didn't take their shares, did you?
No, thank God I didn't, because they went like a rocket and they went broke, if you remember.
Yeah, it imploded.
Yeah, they
A great idea stuffed up by humans.
Well, yeah, because they got
Because the
greedy.
business model was fine.
Yeah,
It was
just complete greed. So after we sold that business, I opened up solo in Cheltenham, Victoria, another childcare centre, and we held that. I think we held that for about 12 months. If my memory serves me right. There was a great demand, and it was really good in terms of what it could provide for the community. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
Because care is really important for young kids. I saw mothers that had to work. They used to drop off their, 10-week-old babies.
No, it's tough.
It really, really is tough. But, we had a good time with that as well. And,
So did you end up selling that one too?
yeah, ABC were at my doorstep and I couldn't say no. I just had to let it go.
So it's like a salami cutting machine. You
Yeah.
just keep creating them, they'll keep buying them.
Yeah, something like that. And look, it was interesting times. And obviously, after that, ABC went broke. So I really wanted to go on with childcare, but I had personal family circumstances that I had to face up to.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of let that go. But
And then you joined the grey haired brigade.
yeah, no, I reckon that grey hair came into my 30s. That was pretty bad.
Oh, you're a cadet.
Yeah, really, really bad. Geez, you're on fire. Really on the fire. So I really stuck to my financial services practice.
But that was like bread and butter, wasn't it? Like that was your playground.
It
no one
was.
questioned anything, and you had a pretty cult following in the community.
Yeah,
from my recollections of it.
It was
all.
hard work though. It was really, really hard work. And obviously with all of financial planning, legislative changes and risk profiles, compliance just
through
killed
that period.
me.
It went from almost no compliance
To everything
full-on
and
compliance.
Yeah, you thought
and,
at the end you were an astronaut completing all physics paperworks and chemistry and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of got to me towards the end. So but I love the financial services industry. I have no regrets. If I had to do it again, I'd probably end up in the sector.
Yeah, no more insurance bonds though.
No.
They're not-
I think they're still around.
Yeah, but they're not like attractive. Like everything, the tax just it's too lucrative over there. We've got to fix it.
Yeah. No, it was really
you'd
good.
have to reinvent yourself in the sector.
Yeah, look, financial planning will always be around. However, being out of the industry now, well, geez, many years now, people often tell me, do I really need to use a financial planner? So here's my take on that.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yes.
Having been one?
Yeah, having
and now
been
you're
one.
on the other side of the fence?
Yeah, now I'm on the other side of the fence. Look, I think if you've got a high salary and you've got disposable income and you want to know about investment opportunities and how to maximise your returns, go see a financial planner. I think if you're a young couple and you've got a mortgage and you've got a couple of kids, just pay off your mortgage. Don't worry about financial planning. You can go see a financial planner on.
100%.
You're just wasting
it's a time
your money.
and a place exercise
Yeah.
on your journey.
Yeah.
I do use the analogy a lot. Like when it's time to do a contract, do you do it yourself or do you get a lawyer? When it's time to do, like more so companies and individuals, to do your tax and set up trusts and all sorts of stuff, do you do it yourself or do you get an accountant?
Yeah.
I think financial planning at the appropriate time is similar to that. I don't see a lot of people that manage their own money, unless you're a high net worth, but manage their own money and do it really well. Because it's not your skill set.
True.
And so you just got to find the right financial planner because like every industry, there's the good, the bad and the ugly.
No, of course, the right doctor, the right dentist, the right accountant, the right lawyer, of
so
course.
the trick is the selection, not the strategy. And that's where you got to invest your time. But I agree with you. If you're a young family and you've got a mortgage,
Pay off your mortgage.
go hell for leather on that. The quicker, because that's the worst debt you could have is non-deductible debt.
Do you know, a couple of weeks ago, I worked out if a young couple, I'm not saying that a young couple should do this, but if a young couple took out $1 million mortgage at the current rate of I think I inserted 6.3 or 6.4%.
Yeah.
And if they decided just to make their regular monthly repayments, not anymore, over 30 years, effectively you're paying back $2.3 million.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
So I worked out that your house, to break even, your house would have to grow, obviously with a compounding effect, about 4% every year for the next 30 years. Now, history will show you that houses have grown between 6 and 8% compounding. I'm not convinced, I hope I'm wrong about this, I'm not convinced that we're going to get the same compounding effect over the next 20 to 30 years because how high can prices go? How high can they go?
Who knows?
No one knows.
There's one factor in that you maybe haven't thought about, and we've discussed, I think it was in episode 1. Yes, they got $1 million at 6.5%, let's say, 65 grand a year, and it's going to be, if they pay it over 30 years, but they won't be paying it off in 30 years. Because the majority of those people will have generational.
I know you've talked
come
about
down
this. A lot of people talk to me about this.
It will, right? And so the trick is when they get that inheritance, heaven forbid their parents live a long time, but whenever that drops,
Can I just
pay
say,
off your debt then.
I'm living to 132, buddy.
132.
There's no inheritance going.
Shit, how many podcasts is that?
That's a lot of podcasts.
'cause
but you're right.
Like I should be about 90 by then.
Yeah. Oh, really? 42 years difference? Jeez, you're quick today. You're super quick. But you're right.
Well, God help you if you live that long.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around that long.
Well, the point that I'm trying to make is that if you can pay extra on your mortgage, just bloody do it.
Yeah.
You don't need a financial planner or anyone. I mean, banks make their money on their book. The more time it takes you to pay off your mortgage, the more that they bloody make.
Yeah, the sweet spot for them is make your minimum repayments and nothing more.
Yep.
Nothing more.
Yep.
Just make your minimum. Same as your credit cards. You make that minimum repayment, and you'll keep getting credit.
I know.
You default, then you got a problem. So don't default. But I agree. If you've got excess cash, whack it off.
But here's what. See, banks are very clever. And of course, the more the longer you take off your mortgage, the more they make. But do you remember that commercial on TV, Equity Mate? Do you remember that commercial from CBA? No, you don't remember how they encourage people to use their equity in their home to go buy something else?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well,
I don't know the ad, but the strategy.
Okay.
Is.
Well, that strategy, today you've got offset accounts and what's the other one called? Redraw accounts, all this sort of names. There's been surveys conducted in the last couple of years, and they're finding people putting money or additional money into their mortgage. I mean, when you and I were putting money into the mortgage, you knew that came off the principal. Now with all these stupid offset accounts, kids are doing the right thing. And I shouldn't use the word kids, young adults. They're putting the money there for all in good purposes, And then when something comes up, I need a new car, I need to go for a holiday,
They redraw.
they're back in the shit again.
Yep.
So that's why banks are really smart. So I encourage everyone who's got the bloody mortgage, like try and get rid of it as quick as you can.
And if you are going to redraw on it, use it for an income-producing asset.
But they don't.
Not a caravan, not
Yeah.
a boat, not a jet ski, not a car. That there's
So
nothing wrong with
true.
your car. You just want the new one.
True.
Don't do it on that because that's bad debt. Good debt is income-producing growth.
Yes.
You know, buy
Yes.
a factory, buy a commercial property, buy a residential property.
Yep.
You
Buy
know,
some shares.
yeah, share.
Buy an ETF, yeah.
Wherever your inclination is, go for that. But go for income and growth, not lifestyle.
Look, I totally agree.